Welcome to 30 Days of Guitar Triads. So what is this and why am I doing it? Well, I think triads are very important for being able to visualize the guitar fretboard and to come up with parts that are interesting and relevant to the music over which you are playing. I've noticed over the years that a lot of guitar players I meet are not as fluent with their triads as I think they should be. So I wanted to make a series of videos over the next 30 days to break down the triads in a systematic way. There's a YouTube channel called Piano TV, and over there she was doing a series of videos called 30 Days of MuseScore. MuseScore is a downloadable software for notating music. It's a notation software. It's free, and it's what I use to make all of the accompanying PDFs for these videos. I really liked her videos. I found them really informative, and I like the idea of 30 bite-sized videos showing small bits of information. That being said, check the description below for a link to download the accompanying PDF. It's free. And check out Piano TV's YouTube channel if you want to learn more about MuseScore or just playing piano in general. And with that, let's get started. We'll start with triad, because if you don't know what that is, this is going to be a very difficult series of lessons. So a triad is a collection of 3 separate notes. We create these collections by stacking some combination of thirds. A third is an interval, or a distance between 2 notes, pitches. There are 2 types of thirds. We have major thirds and minor thirds. A major third is the distance of 4 half steps, or on the guitar, 4 frets, like this. The notes C, then E. A minor triad is 3 half steps, or 3 frets on the guitar, and we have C to E flat. So the difference between the two is simply 1 half step, or fret. Why is it called a third? If we, for example, take a E major scale, each of these notes can be assigned a number from 1 to 7. E, the root being 1, F sharp, the second note being 2, G sharp, the third note being 3, and so on. Now, major scales are built from a series of intervals. Starting from the root note, we have a whole step, another whole step, a half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. If we start on our root note of E and go up to our G sharp, I can also play that here, we'll find that's a distance of 4 half steps, giving us a major third, which took us to the 3rd scale degree. We could start that on a different note of the scale as well. If we start on the 2nd, F sharp, and go up 3 notes of the scale, we have the note A, which is a minor third above F sharp. A is not the third of the scale, the parent scale of E, but it's still a 3rd interval. Stacking thirds. This simply means taking more than 1 third interval, in this case 2, and playing them simultaneously. If we look at the previous example of the E major scale, and we take that first third interval we talked about, going from E to G sharp, and then we go from G sharp up another third to the note B, we have stacked thirds. And if we play those notes together, E, G sharp, B, we have an E major triad. To get a major triad, we start with a major third and stack a minor third on top. To get a minor triad, we start with a minor third and stack a major third on top. And then there's 2 other types. There's augmented and diminished. To get an augmented triad, we simply stack 2 major thirds, like this, E, G sharp, B sharp, or C. To get a diminished triad, we stack 2 minor thirds, like this, E, G, B flat. Inversions. An inversion occurs when we change the order of the notes, specifically the lowest note. For example, if we took our E major triad, E, G sharp, B, and moved the lowest note E to the top, giving us G sharp, B, and E, that would give us an E major triad in first inversion. If we do that again and put the G sharp on top, we'd have B, E, G sharp. We'd still have an E major triad, but it would be in second inversion. If these concepts are all new to you, again, there's a downloadable PDF in the description with all of this written out in greater detail. Feel free to reference that. So how do we practice this? To help us learn these triads and their inversions all over the fretboard, we can start by narrowing our view to groups of 3 strings at a time, with one note of the triad per string. I call these string sets. We have 4 string sets on a 6-string guitar. We have the high E, the B, and the G strings, the B, G, and D, G, D, and D, A, and low E. We can start with a C major triad, which contain the notes C, E, and G. And if we start on this first string set here, we can find our note C, our note E, and our note G. We can take each of those notes and move horizontally up the fretboard to the next available triad note. Our C would go up to our E would go up to G, and our G would go up to C. That gives us a C major triad in first inversion, because the third is in the bass, or the lowest note of the triad. We could take these notes up again, moving our E up to G, G up to C, and C up to E, and have a C major triad in second inversion, because the 5th is the lowest note. Now we can keep going. Sort of. And that pattern would continue. If you had 200 frets on your guitar, you could just keep going and keep going back. Now in the PDF examples, I have notated them going all the way up to the 24th fret. So if you have 24 frets available, feel free to play all the way up there. This guitar has 21 frets. Personally, I don't find myself playing triads that high up. My hand doesn't really allow it. It's too cumbersome. But for the sake of being complete and holistic, I think it's important that you're aware of how the patterns repeat themselves. So how are we going to practice this from here? You may or may not be familiar with the circle of fifths. There's an image of that on the PDF. And it's a very useful tool. I'm not going to go into it in this video or these videos. But the way I learned to practice these types of things is to play them in all 12 keys going around the circle of fifths. Now, I practice them going counterclockwise. So I go from C to F, B flat, E flat, etc. So that would look something like this. If we start with our C major, we want to start with the lowest possible inversion we can do, which isn't going to be root position in this case. It's actually going to be a second inversion. And we move up the fretboard, playing our inversions. And you can play them harmonically all at once, or melodically individually. After C major, we have F major. We start at the lowest possible F triad, which is there. B flat. And around we go until we're back to C. I suggest using a metronome when practicing this type of thing. I have it notated as quarter note per each inversion. Whatever works for you. I just think it's important to have that that time there to keep you pushed and keep you moving forward so that you can look ahead. Now when I'm playing my C major triad here, and I know that I'm moving up to the next inversion, what I'm doing is looking for the next root note. Now I know my next C is here, and if my C is on that string, there's only one shape it could be, and it's that one. My next C is here. There's only one shape it can be. It's that one. If these are all new shapes to you, feel free to play them out of time until you get them under your fingers. But I think once you do, it is important to play them to a metronome. And lastly, not all of these triads are going to be particularly usable. Like I said about the ones up near the 24th fret, I can't physically play them very well. I don't often do that. Same with some of the ones on the lower string set. You're not going to find yourself using them in that way. But for the sake of being able to view the fretboard holistically and as one whole unit, I think it's important to take the time. There's a difference between making art and making music and practice. And this is practice. It's not always going to sound great. And it might be painfully slow at first. Believe me, it was painfully slow at first for me, locating those root notes and trying to build those triads around it. But your fingers and your eyes will begin to recognize patterns. And once you see those root notes, your hand will almost automatically go to the correct shape. The next series of videos is going to be me playing through all of the inversions of all of the triads. Again, they're available on the PDF. So they're going to be short videos. I'm just going to play through them. I'm not going to do much talking. After all that is done, we can talk about how to combine them vertically to give us these larger chord shapes, and how those can be used as framework to build our scales. Pentatonic, majors, all the modes of that. We're also going to talk about some ways to use these triads. So that's going to wrap up day one. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't forget to check back tomorrow when we start actually playing these triads. We're going to start on the first string set, major triads. I'll see you there.